In progress.
Welcome to a muzzled chat. All right. I'm excited for today's episode. We have a guest on that I came across information through these Lyme groups actually on Facebook. And I believe it was the large group of just shy of 50,000 members. And it's just so interesting. I'm extremely fascinated with the human body now and the spiritual aspects, the energy aspects, because it's all one and in the same, and it's important to address things from so many angles, especially in this crazy disease, because just focusing on the physical and the supplemental, it seems for me I'm only able to move the needle so far. So any other things I could potentially integrate that are gonna have a positive impact, I just am excited. Like, I'm open to everything, and I'm excited to do my due diligence and look into the information. And a lot of people were reporting positive results regarding this particular kit, this particular product. So I actually reached out to Sarah here, and she graciously accepted to come on the podcast, talk about this kit. And it's like a magnetic kit, and you've had astronomical benefits for yourself, and you've seen it benefit so many others. So, oh my gosh, I'm just excited to hear more about this, Sarah. So welcome to a muzzled chat. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you. Thanks for reaching out.
My pleasure. So I'll try to effectively, even with Lyme brain, ask some questions, and I'm just really interested as to like how this works. And let's just start with what led you, like what in your own path, in your own words, what took place in your life that led you to using things of this nature, and then even assembling this kit and kind of coming up with this whole protocol that has really helped you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. So I have been into holistic health, natural medicine since I was a teenager. So this has always been my field and my interest. And as a young woman in my 20s, I decided to become a midwife. That was my calling. And I did that and was practicing midwifery. And as part of my dream of being a midwife, I wanted to work in other places and other cultures. And I was able to land a fellowship with the Fulbright Foundation in Central America. So I was working in Guatemala, and I went there for 2 different year-long stints. And the second time I was there, I got really sick with parasites. And I took the medicines. I didn't have any way to get rid of parasites without, the harsh chemicals, and that's what people were doing there. I didn't have anything else. So I took that and got better, but I never got fully better. And I was always like not quite the same. And when I went back to the States, I struggled, and my health deteriorated. It kept deteriorating. And I actually sort of thought in the back of my mind it might be the parasites, but I was also going through a divorce at the time. So I was triaging every day, just trying to deal with my life. It was quite a traumatic one. And I struggled with this low grade parasite infection for 6 years. And my health deteriorated more and more and more. And I got to the point where there were days I just couldn't get off the couch. And so I was a midwife. So having to like stay up all night at different points, and everything kind of came crashing at the same time. I had to give up midwifery, and a friend of mine that I had met in Central America was struggling with the same thing because she also had parasites, and she also wasn't able to get well, with the various regular forms of medicine. And she got introduced to this modality of using magnets in Central America, and it actually comes from Mexico, so it's more popular in Latin America. And she said, "It's helping me. I'm actually getting better." And I was like, "Okay, I'll try it." And this was 2020, and I had been trying a lot of things, mind you. Like I had already spent a lot of money, gone to functional medicine doctor, done a lot of different things, testing that I paid for, testing that my insurance paid for, supplements, boxes of supplements. Like this wasn't the only thing, right?
Right.
And I wasn't dealing with Lyme, but I was dealing with chronic illness. So I know it's like where you're just like every day is like, how am I going to get through this day?
Right.
And I started using it. Well, okay, it was 2020, so my plan was to go, because she was training in the method. So my plan was to go down to be with her and let her treat me. And then it was 2020, and like no one was going anywhere. So I was stuck at home, and I knew that here's this thing. And so I found an online training, and I did the training, and it took me a while to get through the training and to, figure out how to do it. And I started working on myself and my friends at the same time to try to learn the modality. And it was about a year into it when I finally pinpointed what was going on with me. Took me a while. And I figured out that I had 2 particular parasites, and I did particular biomagnetic pairs for those parasites. And I also took some homeopathics at the same time. And I just like honed in on those for a couple of weeks. I went through a huge die-off reaction, the strange Herx symptoms that I wasn't familiar with, but I was like, oh, I think I'm having a Herx reaction.
Right.
I think that might be good. And literally after 2 weeks, it was done. And
wow.
I was severely anemic. So that was part of the reason why I was having such a hard time. And I found out through my own research, once I figured out which parasites were running my system, I figured out that the intestinal parasites were actually feeding off of my iron stores. And that's what was making me anemic, because because I was getting iron infusions in order just to like be able to keep going.
Wow.
So yeah, it was bad. And so I haven't had to do that since. I've been fine since. My bowels have been fine since. My iron has been fine since. So the modality of biomagnetism saved my life.
Wow.
Now, at the same time that I was trying to figure out how to get myself well, and I was working on people in my community, a lot of them have Lyme, because I live in upstate New York, and this is just what a lot of people are dealing with all the time.
Right.
And I saw that they were getting better, with the protocols that I had put together just from my research and trying different things. And then after all of that, I came down with Lyme. And I had all the symptoms, and I recognized it as Lyme because I live in the Lyme endemic area, and I just know what it looks like. And I was like, I have Lyme. So I went to get tested right away, and it came back positive for Lyme and anaplasmosis. But in the meantime, sort of around, I think it was even the same day, like I got tested and I started doing my own protocol that I had created for other people. I did it on myself. And I literally went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and I was like mostly better.
Wow.
Like functional. I had like some little sniffles and things to work out of my system, but I was functional. I was able to do what I needed to do. And I was like, wow. I had the prescription, but I hadn't gone to fill it. And then after that, my test results came back and said, you have Lyme and anaplasmosis. And I was like, not anymore.
Hmm.
And I was fine after that. And I don't remember if I did it once or twice or whatever, but it wasn't like a big battle. It was literally like a day of being sick.
Wild.
So,
Wow.
so then I went around like trying to tell people about it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But like, it was just anecdotal at that point. And people continued to come to me for Lyme, and I would just, I would work on my friends and stuff. And, and then it was last summer, actually,
Mm-hmm.
not even a year ago in June, that my son and I went up to New Hampshire for a big festival, and we were camping, and he had got all kinds of ticks on him because he just walks barefoot and, communes with nature. And he
Gotta
gets
live
ticks.
life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, yeah. So, which I actually didn't know, but we came home the next day. He got really ill. He's like, well, I feel sick. And he tell me all the symptoms. I'm like, did you have any tick bites when we were up there? He's like, I had so many tick bites. I don't know how many tick bites I had.
Mm.
Okay. So, so then I did the same protocol on him. And even while he's lying on the table, I noticed he stopped crying because he was really complaining and crying.
Wow.
And he's 19. He was 19 at the time, but he can be very sensitive. Um, so, so he's still on the table, and I'm, still doing some stuff with him, looking for more magnet pairs and stuff. And he says to me, "No," and I said, "How are you doing? How's that headache?" Because he was like, "My head hurts so much," which is what happened to me too. Like my head hurt so much,
Mm.
felt like it was going to explode. So he said, "Oh, it's better. Yeah, that doesn't hurt so much anymore." This was at 3 o'clock in the morning, actually, that all this was happening.
Mm.
He went back to sleep. Woke up the next morning, walking around like nothing happened. Like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm all right.
Is that the moment you realize, wow, there's actually really something
I was
to
like,
this?
whoa,
Mm-hmm.
there's something to this. There's
Yeah.
something to this. And I just kept thinking about it. I was like, if all the people who are having Lyme, getting Lyme, like if they had access to this and could apply it right away,
Hmm.
maybe they would have the same results and they wouldn't get into these long-term battles,
Mm.
maybe. And so I was just thinking about my local community because it's such a big problem here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought I'll just put some magnets in a bag and put some instructions in there, and then distribute that, and people can, buy a kit, and then they can just have it in the house and then use it, and be like first aid.
Hmm.
And then it just one thing led to another. I did a talk at a local venue here, and a bunch of people came, and I, talked about it, and I talked about the kit, and there was interest in the kit. So I just, one thing led to another, and I just
Wow.
ended up creating something that's a little bit more involved and presentable for a wider audience, not just my
If you don't
friends and
mind, let's go ahead and bring up the website so that way if a listener wants to check this out as they're listening,
Mhm.
you could just in the search engine webpage you could look up biomagneticlimekit.com, biomagneticlimekit.com,
Just like it sounds. Yeah.
just like it sounds. And she's got a lovely web page here, and yeah, you got literature, you have the testimonials,
Mhm.
you have instruction guides, and then the actual kit itself. So with this kit, it's coming with a journal. Is that coming with it?
A journal, written instructions.
Okay.
Yeah. And a little USB thumb drive
Mm.
That's got a video instructions and guided meditations because everything has an energetic component to it, or I should
Hmm.
say, energetic origin. So the guided meditations are aiming to help people to tune into the energetic signatures of each of the microbes.
Mm.
And they each have to do with something
Right.
like grief, disappointment, fear, you know, different aspects of life that sometimes we just don't deal with. And so it's like basically inviting you to look a little deeper to see what can be cleaned up energetically,
Mm.
that can help you also get well, not just the magnet.
Well, I'm glad you have all these testimonials and everything because, I mean, it's wild. My experience, I mean, when you're talking about the boxes of supplements and meds, it's like we all tend to kind of go through that journey. Some people, every now and then, like, bless them, they have a breakthrough kind of like first attempt. So 6-12 months, boom, they have like this turnaround. And but more often than not, from the more I'm seeing this, what helps one individual doesn't necessarily do anything for the next. That's why I'm trying to encompass as many layers and angles at the same time and get right. And you're right, like meditation out the gate is so important because if we're constantly walking around in a fight or flight, and it's interesting, some people, there's lots of different forms of meditation or things you could do to calm that down. Some might be walking in nature, some might be tuning out and trying to meditate, some might be spiritual and prayer and uplifting music. I mean, there's all sorts of things worth looking into to calm that because if you're fight or flight, your immune system's kaput. It's not doing its job. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
You can't be in fight or flight and be in healing mode at the same time.
right.
You really can only be in active healing mode when when your parasympathetic
Mm,
nervous system is balanced and uh, activated, right? That's the rest digest
mm,
of the nervous system.
wow.
So you have to be in that parasympathetic state in order for your vagus nerve to be able to feed all of your organs. I've just been learning more about this, but the main thing is you can't do them both at the same time. You can't be in fight or flight and be in healing mode. So
Right.
you need to calm down. So that is a big reason for the meditations.
Wow. Right here,
So
you even
people
have
put the
it.
magnets on. So when you
Mm-hmm.
put the magnets on, and I want to tell you a little bit about how they work too,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
a bit of explanation. But um, when you put the magnets on, let's say you're going to put, well, let's do something that's a little more visible. So there's a pair that goes, um, Ehrlichia goes above the ear here,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other side, the opposite side. So over here, you see the red side.
Mm-hmm.
So the black side, let's see, there you see the red side. The black side is going against my head on the right,
Mm-hmm.
and the red side is going on my head on the left, just above the ear. So that's for Ehrlichia.
Okay.
So this gets put in place with a headband
Mm.
that comes in the kit, and then you would leave them on there, and then listen to the meditations. Now you don't have to listen to the meditations, but they're there, like I said, to help put you in that state of healing.
Mm.
But just sit quietly um, you can just sit quietly too and write or just meditate. But the idea is to allow yourself the time to heal. And that the magnets are doing is very interesting because each microbe that we have in our system that's out of balance. So when someone, when they do a lab test, and I know the lab tests are, a lot of them are crap, but they
Yeah.
do, they do have some information in them, right?
Right.
Sometimes. So like if they find anaplasmosis, let's say, that anaplasmosis is there because of an imbalance in the system. Now, you may have gotten it from a tick. It may have
Mm.
already been in your system. It may have got it from somewhere else. In biomagnetism, it really doesn't matter where it came from,
Right.
because what we do is balance the body and balance the magnetics of the body and the pH. So the magnets are actually balancing the body's pH. So you're either overly acidic or overly alkaline in any
Mm.
given area. But if you have one area that's overly acidic, then rest assured there's another area that's overly alkaline, because they have to balance each other out
Mm.
on the whole. But that is also what causes like the overproliferation of bacteria, viruses, parasites, because of the imbalance. So this is a little bit different than the idea that the bacteria makes you sick. So my contention is that the bacteria is feeding off of an imbalance in your pH. Okay,
That
and
that makes
so
sense to me.
yeah, and so the magnets create an instant balance in your pH. I don't know anything else that does this. There's like months-long diets you can do, herbal
Mm.
regimens or whatever, but this does it instantaneously.
Mm.
So if your liver is out of balance, some parts of your liver being overly acidified, some parts being overly alkaline, and there's just an energy stuckness. When you have these two extremes in two different areas, or they can be in the same area,
Mm-hmm.
it gives a stuckness of the energy. And so what the magnets do, my understanding, what I try to put together and figure it out, and I don't know if other people would explain it this way, but my understanding of what they do is that they're um, moving the electrons and protons around in the cells, um, the electrical charge, and kind of loosening everything up in that area so that it's free to move, it's not stuck anymore, and then it just finds its balance. So you go back to pH neutral,
Okay.
plus or minus 3. So 6.7 to 7.3 is normal, healthy range. So with Lyme, with Borrelia, the first pair is on the liver. So you put the black magnet on the liver, and then you put the red side of another magnet also on the liver, and so now you've got a pair like
Mm.
that.
Okay.
And not some of them are different parts of the body. Some
Right.
of them are like
A
other
lot of
part of
this
the body.
information. How many pages is to the instructional book? Like
It's
all.
48. It's 48 pages.
So it's nothing too overwhelming, but it's in depth enough.
Yeah, I think so. And then there's also, we have ongoing support on the Lyme Hub. So if people have questions, they can always come to the Lyme Hub for questions.
Well, it's
So
great
that's our.
to have that community,
Oh,
because if someone has a particular breakthrough, trying different things or something, that we're collectively getting more effective and efficient with everything.
exactly. That's the idea. We can teach each other, because I'm
Right.
not necessarily the be all end all here. I just had these amazing experiences and I'm
Right.
trying to shape reality, but I don't know everything.
And it looks as though with what you've combined, it to an extent seems more so to be on behalf of helping others achieve the same benefits you yourself have received, because it's not
Mhm.
like you're putting a crazy price tag on these things. Like it's one of the more affordable things an individual suffering could acquire to self administer. Like that
Yeah.
just seems very, to me, just valuable. It's just also, I could speak out to a lot of those in the Lyme community that have been through the ringer, and protocol after protocol and doctor after doctor. And I mean, it becomes very physically, emotionally, financially straining. And there's just a lot of different options out there. And I'm genuinely trying to hone in on what is like the clearest path to wellness, like
Mhm.
to speed it up. And if there is a high financial road that, hey, this is clearly proven the most effective, great, we want to shine the light on that. But if there's one more even financially viable that might not be as heavy hitting, we still but beneficial nonetheless, we really want to break everything down. Just it's all about wellness. And so it's not just you, it's not just your son. There's a lot. I mean, I'm reading up on the testimonials. There's a lot of people, that's what intrigued me initially, was it was like a single post. And I think it was in the hundreds of comments. And there were individuals even sharing like, this is amazing, worth every penny. So there's obviously something to what you've been able to put together here.
There's definitely something to this. There's definitely something to it. I'll tell you another story, because it's not just like this story between me and my son. It's just that's what kind of kicked it off.
Mm-hmm.
Combined with having seen other people get well over time that had Lyme. But one of my clients, one of my customers, bought the kit because she had been having this shoulder pain for months, and she thought she had an injury because she's a gardener, so she just kept thinking, oh, I injured my shoulder. And then one day it jumped from one shoulder to the other, and she's like, wait a minute. That's not an injury. I bet that's Lyme. And she knew that I was doing this kit. So she bought one from me, and she started using it right away. And she said the first day of doing the first pair, she started to feel the pain in her shoulder dissolve. While the magnets were still on.
Wow.
And then she continued, and it's just continued to get better. And she's like almost completely well now. And yeah, that was like a few months ago when she did that. And another situation, someone had been bringing her son to me for Lyme on and off. I'm doing private sessions, and he had, like a more long-term case. And every time she brought him to me, he would get well, and then she wouldn't bring him, and he would get worse, and she'd bring him to me and get well. And she was doing other things too, like trying a lot of different things at the same time. And then her second son, her younger son, had a bullseye rash and started getting sick. And she's like, oh, can you see him? And I was like, and she had already bought a kit from me. I said, why don't you just use your kit? She's like, okay, all right, I guess so, So she used the kit, and like the next morning he was fine. And his symptoms haven't come back. Now he's been sick with other things, and she eventually did bring him to me because he had like a cold and some other symptoms, which he got better after he saw me. But in terms of the Lyme symptoms, he's been fine, and she's continued to do the protocol because I said just keep doing it, because you're training the body. Sometimes you can get away with just like, I think in my case I might have only done it once or twice. Definitely no more than twice. But in general, I would say, like, if you're going to do this, do it for a few weeks at least, beyond feeling well, because you're trying to retrain your system. As you know, with people with Lyme, they can get better, and then they get worse, and then they get better, and then they get worse. And it's like a yo-yo, right? And so this training your body into a pattern of wellness. So you want to keep reminding it all the time. This is what we're doing. We're doing health. We're doing wellness. We're not doing imbalance anymore.
Well, it's interesting. I know for me, because I would have contracted before this disease before I was even 7 years old. And it was just a few years back, I got my positive diagnosis, and now we're really going through the ringer because it went chronic for me. And I just know this is infiltrated all over, because as I experience herxing, it's every part of my body, even function like my mental, but it's really prominent. It seems throughout my spine, a lot of the joints, but in in my brain, there's really no limitations as to this dang spirochete and where it can't really infiltrate in the body. I mean, I guess it can't really get into the bone itself, but it could get into the bone marrow. And that might be its only limitation, our skeletal structure. But so with something like this, and someone really, I don't know, at this level, I just would wonder, like, it seems to be that effective just with few select places on the body. It's not like you have to really move these all around the body.
Mm-mm. And the symptoms that you're having might be from Lyme, Borrelia,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is that we're calling Lyme.
Right.
It might be from, any of the other co-infections. It might be
Yeah.
from mold.
Yeah.
It could be from a lot of different things,
Has
right?
this
So the
seemed to help people with mold toxicity?
mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, and like I've had Candida and Aspergillus, and yeah, I don't have them anymore.
Literally
Um,
just through a couple treatments. So it's not years later you feel great and it's
Not
not
years
like,
later. No, it's not even. I mean, if people who have been sick for a long time, I think it takes more time to unwind all the imbalances. So what I wanted to say to you is that you probably have a lot more than Lyme going on. Like once you have one thing
right,
that's out of balance, then everything else in your body has to compensate. It's not like it's just staying with that one thing,
right.
then something else and then something else. And, so getting everything back into balance can take some time.
Yeah.
And it can be more than Lyme. So what I want to say is this protocol covers um, the Lyme or Borrelia and 6 of the most common co-infections. And then once you get onto the Lyme Hub, once you buy the kit, then you're a member of the Lyme Hub. And you can talk to other members because it's a membership organization and talk to me and ask me questions. And I'm live every Saturday so people can come and ask me questions live. And then I've been doing little tutorials like on, okay, mold isn't covered in here, but I did a little tutorial on mold. So now
Oh,
that's on the
okay.
Lyme Hub and know like what the pairs are for Aspergillus, Candida, and Stachybotrys, which is house mold. So when you have like that nasty black mold in your house and it gets into your body and makes you sick, there you can balance it in your body, even though it's still in your house.
This seems too good to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking to someone who just spent 4.5 hours with a needle in my arm getting IVs yesterday, and we're really trying to hone in on specifically mold. And that's like a 8-week program that's extending out to like a 16-week program, and it's financially, I don't even know. I don't even know how I'm continuing on it. It's
Do
just,
you know which molds you have?
I'd have to pull out the whole blood work, but there's like 4 different kinds. One of them, a couple of them I don't think are deemed that devastating or life threatening, but one of them that was alarmingly high was like, I think it had a weird name. It's not like it was labeled black mold, but it was black mold.
Black
So
mold. So probably Stachybotrys.
yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Right.
Yeah, so there's specific pairs for each thing. So each fungus you can find the specific pairs for it. So it's yeah, and I can't get into really how to do that right now because it's a little more complex. Like, but
Okay.
um, yeah, but every single bacteria, every fungus, every parasite, every virus, even every emotion has specific pairs in the body, and sometimes there's one, sometimes there's two, three, four, and you balance those specific areas if you know what the diagnosis is. And then there's also what I did, how I was trained and how I started out with this is you do a full scan. So there's a way to do a full scan of the body so that you find out everything that's out of balance and everything that needs magnetic pairs.
Mm.
And then you do one session, and then you come back for a second session, and then you find the second layer underneath.
Okay.
And then usually after a few sessions, it becomes fewer and fewer. And sometimes the same things come up over and over. And so then, you kind of hone in on those particular things. But what I did here with the Lyme kit was kind of coming at it from the other side. So rather than going through the full scan, which requires a lot of training, and it took me, like I said, a year before I was comfortable with it. I'm just saying, like, okay, if you know you got Lyme, and then additionally, we're talking about mold. If you know you have these molds, I'll just give you the pairs for those particular things. I'll just show you exactly where to put them. You don't have to learn how to do the scan. That's the hardest part of this process, is learning how to do the scan. So you don't have to learn how to do the scan. All you have to learn how to do is where to put the magnets and for how long.
Mm.
And it seems to be working, and it seems to be helping. It's still great to do a full scan. Like if you can find a biomagnetic therapist in your area, or if you can find somebody that does distance sessions, which I've done very little of that myself, not really proficient in it. I know there's people that do it, but better would be to find somebody that's somewhere near you where you can do an in-person session and get a full scan. But I know that there's not that many of us right now. And there's a lot more people that need help than there are people doing this, trained in this modality, who know what they're doing.
What would I search again? I should have. I was slow on the jump on making notes regarding the scan. Like who would I? What specialist would I seek out locally?
You would look up biomagnetic therapy. You would see if there's somebody in your area. I have no idea if there's anybody in Arizona. I just know there's not that many of us in the United States. It's more of a Latin American thing.
This seems to be similar to
what I'm hoping, and what I've been saying since the beginning of this, starting this kit, is that I'm hoping that some people who do this are going to be so jazzed by it and so blown away that they're going to want to become therapists. They're going to want to get trained, because it's not that hard. I did like 2 1-week trainings, one online, one in person, and a lot of practice. It's more the practice, because the training is pretty straightforward, but it's the practice that takes time, and really getting comfortable and understanding what you're doing.
Right.
But like I said, I did that in a year, in my free time.
Wow.
To learn it a lot faster. And it would be great to have people in every city and every community doing this.
Right. Well, for someone to really specialize with it, as we know, with how impacting this can become, especially on the chronic levels, some people could be, I'm sure, I guarantee, daunted on becoming their own advocate for themselves. There's times moments in time where reading really wasn't even an option. I could kind of go through the words, but I wasn't absorbing information. And to this day, I have moments where I still really struggle with that. So it could be, it's nice that you got, video content, things like that, simplifying everything. But yeah, for someone to specialize in this, just to effectively more so be ready here, gather the data from an individual and really hone in on it, that would be ideal.
Well, yeah, and you'd have to get well first.
Right. So
I had brain fog. I was in graduate school. I was trying to get a graduate degree in midwifery, and I didn't follow through with it for various reasons. But one of the things was my health, and I had serious brain fog. Like trying to, focus on computer and reading studies and taking notes and remembering stuff was like, I would just shut down. Or just like, I can't do it.
Right.
I just can't do it.
Yeah.
My brain doesn't.
Becomes quite overwhelming. This is a very devastating thing. So For you, what do you suppose? I mean, I'm sure you've heard some pretty wild breakthroughs. I mean, just are there any offhand that kind of stand out you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have a story that's like really crazy. It's not about Lyme, but it's so extreme
Okay.
that I feel like it's worth sharing. So, just to help people understand the power of this modality, like how powerful it is.
Mm.
So, this was a year ago. It was actually before my son, I was telling you, got Lyme when we were camping. So, it was a few months before that, and in March. So, it was right around now. He drowned. He was taking a sauna with his friends, and the sauna was next to a pond, and
Oh
it was
wow.
March, so there was, it was like cold and icy. And he went into the pond to cold dip after the sauna, and he passed out.
Oh
Right, he
wow.
went to the bottom of the pond, and then this is like at midnight. It was dark. Long story short, his friends rescued him, and a helicopter came, brought him to the hospital. I got a phone call. Your son's in the hospital. I get there, and he's unconscious, intubated, and on multiple drugs.
Mm.
And they had him on drugs to keep him sedated so they could have him intubated. So that was an intense situation. They sent him up. He was, in the end, he was fine. But so just to say that, but I didn't know at that time if he was going to be fine. I didn't know if he was brain dead. I had no idea. So they brought him upstairs to the ICU, and I was doing acupressure on his feet because I knew of some acupressure points that are like the corpse reviver
Hmm.
that I had learned about in midwifery school, where you like if someone is like going fast, like you can press these points on the ball of the foot, like right in here, and that will get. And he started reacting to that, and I was like, oh my god, his nervous system is intact at least. And then he started to come to eventually and gain a little bit of consciousness, and he was trying to speak with the tube in his mouth.
Hmm.
And somebody said he's trying to say something. Give him a brilliant person, whoever this was, give him a pen and paper. So he wrote, "No more painkillers."
Wow.
So in his half consciousness, like he knew that he did, and so they said to him, "Okay, we'll stop the painkillers, but you have to promise, like, you're going to stay still. You're not going to try to take the tube out." So they stopped the painkillers, and then within a minute, he pulled the tube out.
Okay.
And he felt like the tube was killing him.
Hmm.
He felt like he was going to die with the tube in his mouth. And the first thing he said is, "Oh my God, I'm alive." So that was one piece of the story. And then shortly after that, they said, "You're developing sepsis. We took some blood work from you, and look at your vitals, and you have all the signs of sepsis. You need antibiotics." And he was like, "I don't want antibiotics." And I'm thinking, like, really? Like, maybe this is the moment when antibiotics would be a good idea.
Hmm.
Um, I'm against antibiotics, but like, in this situation, I thought that probably makes sense to take antibiotics. They're telling him he's septic, right?
Right.
And he was really didn't want to do it. And I said, and I had brought my magnets with me because I thought I might need them. And I said, "Okay, let's do a magnet treatment on you." And so we had to fend the doctors off. I had to fend the doctors off, basically,
Hmm.
which I know how to do because I used to be a midwife and used to deal with this all the time. So I was pretty comfortable with that, and just said, like, "We need some time. We just need to talk about this. How about 45 minutes?" Okay. So in that time, I did a full scan and a full session on him. And as he's laying there with the magnets on, I'm watching the vitals start to settle out because he's hooked up to, the blood pressure, the temperature, everything.
Yeah.
You can see it all. and in real time. And I was there with two friends of mine. And we watched the vitals start to settle out. We did the full, 25 minutes or whatever the time was, but took the magnets off. And then when the doctor came back, he was better. And then within an hour or so, they said, okay, now we're going to send you downstairs to the regular floor. You don't need to be on ICU anymore. Didn't say anything about what, how he went from being septic to not septic.
Right.
They just were like, okay, you can go downstairs now. And then we went home the next morning.
What happened to practicing
With
medicine?
with the blessing, not against medical advice, with
Right.
the blessing of the doctor on call.
Right. Yeah, I'm just in awe. Like, what happened to practicing medicine? It's like these doctors, bless their hearts, so many of them are in it for the right reasons, but then again, like, they've integrated like the indoctrination that happens through their education process, the pride and arrogance that gets instilled in so many of them, where they're just not even, they have full blinders on, they're fully entrusting in their indoctrination, their education, and the solutions. Like, they just have these built out protocols. Okay, this is what's happening with the patient, this is the protocol, there's no other. And it's all, so it's been corrupted because it's about money, and it's all pharmaceutical based, not really open to practicing medicine and every other thing that could be beneficial. It's just wild. So I'm very grateful that so many doctors have been in self-proclaimed remissive states from their indoctrinations. That's where I just feel is the patients. Like, man, it's important that we start getting loud. Obviously, so many. Like, the gal I had over last night was talking about, like, I just, like, I need to cancel my insurance because I don't, like, everything that would be covered. Like, I go to alternate sources because that's getting to the solutions of my issues. Western medicine.
Yeah, you end up paying twice, right?
Right. So
yeah.
the people, the patients need to kind of just tear down. I've lost all trust in white lab coats, just personally. Like, it's healthy to question things. And the more I've looked into it, the more I just see how corrupted it is. It's all about money over health and wellness. So we've gotten so far away from actual solutions, and it's just feeding into this big corporation, pharma, that it's very sad. And pre-show, we talked about this disease, and it's just like, why hasn't this gotten the proper attention it needs with how devastating it is, how it's epidemic levels? I mean, we were talking about the numbers, like 500,000 Americans in North America alone have been diagnosed. And it's kind of like, are that many actually even encountering ticks? Well,
each year.
Yeah. And that's, in my eyes, that's a small number, because I went over 30 years. Like, I'm one of the stats that prove how misdiagnosed and undiagnosed this disease actually is. So many people live out their whole lives without even knowing, and they just deal with all these ailments and suffer through it. And that's just no way to live. I personally feel like a solution would be obviously upping the testing to a level that its accuracy is way off the charts and it's more affordable. And personally, it's like everyone, like, it could be an annual even thing to be going in and checking up. Like, we gotta suppress this uptick, no pun intended, on just as it's so debilitating. Like, I don't understand as to the healthy, how they're not championing this narrative even for their future selves. I mean, we've sounded the alarm on it before, and I did realize, and even beforehand when I'm talking with you and you ask really legitimate questions. I'm like, wow, there's more research. I actually need to compile the data, have it just one click away to pull up. But it's, oh, where was I going with that? Lyme brain. It's just,
Yeah. I think it's you're just pointing to like just the overwhelmingness of it and how huge this particular disease is, and we don't realize it's a. I've been calling it a silent pandemic.
right. Oh my gosh, some of those documentaries, yeah, the quiet epidemic or pandemic, or what is it?
Oh, really? Somebody else was. Yeah, I mean, it
It's a
makes sense, right?
great
I thought
documentary.
up with that, but yeah, I didn't see the documentary. I do want to be like I do want to say something else about
Yes.
this modality, which I didn't say, which is very important, is that it comes from um, a very wonderful doctor in Mexico City. Now he passed away a few years ago, but
Mm,
he discovered this in the 80s
mm,
by accident or by divine accident or something.
right.
I don't know. And he had been attending a lecture on biomagnetism by someone who was working with the astronauts after they would come back from space travel and be sick. And he was theorizing that it was because that they were leaving the Earth's magnetic field. And so he devised a contraption to get them back into balance, with the Earth's magnetic field. And I don't know what it was, a machine. I don't know what, exactly what involved, but apparently it involved magnets. And Dr. Goes had attended this lecture. He was a physician, the head of a large rehabilitation unit at a hospital in Mexico City. And he was super frustrated with medicine and how ineffective it was and how arrogant the doctors were, given how ineffective their treatments were. And he was always looking for better things.
Mm,
And so he had a patient come into him with advanced AIDS, like literally, like really, dying of AIDS.
mm.
He had severe symptoms, and he basically he took some magnets out of the speakers in his office and started experimenting with them based on what he had learned in this lecture, and figured something out. So he had put a magnet on the man's thymus and noticed that one of his legs became shorter when he did that. And then he took another magnet. So this is how the pair came about. So there's the negative side of the magnet and the positive side. So he took another magnet and looked for another place on the body and where he could have another reaction. And then he noticed when he put it between the buttocks that the legs evened out again. And he was like, oh, that's
Wow.
weird. And just left it there. And then after a while, he took the magnets off and he just didn't know what to make of it. The guy went home and he started getting better. And then he fully recovered.
Hmm.
And so he was like, I think I'm onto something. And he kept like investigating and experimenting and came up with this it's like a whole health system unto itself.
Wow.
And he was originally, trying to get this out to the people in Mexico. And well, his idea was, to call in the authorities and be like, I discovered something here, because he was helping people with cancer get well and all kinds of stuff. But like his claim to fame was cancer. He had a more than 90% cure rate. And they shut him down. They took his license away.
Of course they did.
And then the government, and then they ended up giving him his license back under the condition gag. He could treat his patients, that he wasn't to talk about it, he wasn't to write about it, he wasn't to teach about it. So he continued to quietly do his thing in Mexico City, and then eventually someone invited him to teach in Europe. And I can't remember if it was like Spain or Italy, something. I can't remember where. Somewhere in Europe he was invited to teach, and he thought, you know what? I never told him I wasn't going to teach in another country.
Mm.
So he did that, and that opened the door. And then the training started happening all over the world.
Wow.
Not all over, like in Europe. I think, I'm not sure about Australia. Actually, don't know. I know that there's trainings in Europe and Miami and California. It's not huge.
Mm.
Oh, and Ecuador. And it's actually taught in universities, in the University of Loja in Ecuador, and I'm told also somewhere in Spain, but I'm not entirely sure where in Spain. But so yeah, there's people using it and teaching it, but it's still very unknown, especially in the English speaking world.
Wow. Well, as you were talking, I did kind of even realize where I was lost before and where I wanted to kind of just make it profound, because I want to have that impact. We need the healthy to champion this. We need everyone to champion this. I mean, the simple fact, like 500,000 people, wrap your mind around it. That's more than breast cancer and HIV combined. And it's also the most misdiagnosed and undiagnosed disease. It's actually in the millions. It's in the millions each and every year. Like, it's way more epidemic levels than we realize. It's extremely devastating. And I went a long time not even knowing. Why wait till it's got to go chronic? And we need your help. I want to do a call to action on all the listeners, everyone that comes across this. Like, help me even gather the information. If this has helped, if this particular kit has helped you, or this type of, let's get to the bottom of things. Let's clear that path for people really struggling and find what's most effective. And I know with some of the talking points, because at this point, I just realize, like, I need more of the data points, like backing things up. So I've heard that they find the spirochete in a lot of water sources, that it's even been sprayed in some of the chemtrail, that it has been integrated into a lot of the COVID bioweapon jabs, like some of those batches. So any and all data that we could start gathering would be so important. I mean, even I'll eat some humble pie. I mean, when I even mentioned, and I was just regurgitating what these educated doctors have told me is regarding this being the most patented disease as far as we know right now, and talking about the length of the DNA strands, and you just, oh really, like, you just inquisitively asked about some of the patents, and I've just felt like a dum-dum, whereas, like, we need all that data. I need that instead of just talking points. And I see that clearly. And it's like, why am I call it the Lyme brain, but I need to be inquisitive in those moments and maximize the sourcing of information in that moment versus just like hearing. That's where we're such limited beings in the midst of the struggle. We're doing what we can to seek that wellness. So help us. I'm just call to action, like, help us achieve all the data points, all the talking points, everything we need that's going to help push this out there, because it goes beyond even Lyme disease. Obviously, there's a lot of things, and I love the idea with this whole frequency and magnets and things like that to help balance things out more to the natural state of being. Because these dang blinking boxes and these machines, like, it's proven that these other frequencies and wavelengths are astronomically, like, devastating on a cellular level. So we got to find a way of balancing all of this out. So I could see the benefits with this type of healing, not just even to the Lyme community, for everyone that's just simply alive today. And through onboarding these type of treatments, I mean, we will collectively, ideally, like, move more into that quality of life and finding out the healthy balance. Like, we need you. This is very exciting, Sarah. I appreciate you spending the time. Let's plug this website one more time. So it's biomagneticlimekit.com, and you can order them up here. That's really cool that you have a whole community, so you're not just, like, left in the dark, like, good luck, figure it out. That that you yourself is available. There's a lot of
Yeah.
others and a lot of more information that you obtain with this. I'm very excited and intrigued. So anyone,
And I've also been starting to teach people on the Lyme Hub, and I plan to kind of do this every so often.
okay,
Have to do their own assessment so that you can actually use the magnets.
mm-hmm.
Like I told you the story about Dr. Goes, how he saw that one leg became shorter than the other when he placed a magnet in a certain place.
Interesting.
It's the same for every pair. So if you know where the Borrelia pair is and you put the negative magnet on that place, you should see a shortening in one of your legs if that bacteria is active in your system.
Interesting.
So that's a whole other level of things because you can do your own, starts with the D word, let's call it assessment,
Assessment, right.
self-assessment, in your own home. Once you learn how to do this. That's pretty cool.
Right.
And there was something else I wanted to say too about that. I forgot. Maybe it'll come to me.
Well, that's what's beautiful about all this, Sarah. We don't have to hit it out of the park right out the gate, and we're human, right?
Oh, I remember.
Okay, let's hear it.
I remember what I was. So when I first started doing this, I have 3 boys, and one of them at least is very where's the studies? Where's the scientific proof? I'm like, I don't know. I just have anecdotal evidence, and I think it's really powerful. So I feel like if you want to wait for the studies to come out, fine. You might be waiting a long time. But in the meantime, this seems to be working. There's no big side effect risk with it, other than herxing if you get well too fast. But, people with Lyme are familiar with that. If you find something that works, sometimes you get sicker first. But I just felt like I don't want to hold back on this until I or somebody else can do a study on it. If I thought there was a risk to it, and you talk to anybody who does this modality, there's certain contraindications, very particular, specific contraindications. But by and large, for the most part, pretty much anybody can use it. And there's no health risk because you're balancing the body. So, you can only get more balance. It's only good, right? It's not like you're taking medicine to counteract something and then there's a side effect from that medicine.
Right.
So I feel like it's virtually risk-free. And in terms of the health impacts, it can either be helpful or maybe, not do anything, possibly. But why hold back on that? Because there's so many people that can use help right now. And studies are expensive and they take a lot of time, and there's just a lot of problems with that.
There's a lot of information now regarding. I even believe the magnet therapies. If I'm not mistaken, because I went up to Lyme Stop up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho at one point, and this, I don't know, I just had a kind of a flashback. It's so crazy because it's like my memory is so foggy. It's hard to access and even dive into what all that entailed. But I believe it was magnet therapies, and it had a crazy impact. And I knew, but because the herxing was really profound, but it was just so short lived. I didn't end up with a breakthrough. Who knows if I would have continued, what the outcome would have been. But there's a lot out there on this, and then all sorts of healing, energy with the Rife machine, this other tech. It's an upcoming industry. People are learning more and more every day about PEMF mats and the benefits from that. And it seems like it didn't gain crazy traction because it was mild benefits. Like you'd almost be just as good barefoot for free out there grounding in nature.
I was
It
going to say grounding is like an
right.
amazing therapy as well.
But with
Yeah.
the gal I had over last night, it was pretty powerful because with this new tech that in these frequency wavelengths at deeper depths, apparently it now is revolutionary. And it's interesting because I keep hearing whispers about med beds and things like that, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, right? And we all like to think of things that just sound too good to be true. But then again, like, well, what would that integrate? What? And on a cellular level, it's got to be potentially frequency based, just really honing in well programs and things like that. So there's something to it. Like, that's where, once again, it's just like the call to action collectively. We could get the information more effectively together and support this type of even research together, but personally, isn't that like your testimonial, everyone you're encountering, that in and of itself, like that value, like in a way I have like more value than some of the peer reviewed studies in that kind of just pull out the selective data they need to have talking points, and it so many titles don't even meet like the actual work that was done these days. So it's important for us all just to do our research and due diligence on things. But at the end of the day, it's just very hopeful to hear others benefiting from what you've come up with, Sarah. Bless you in your work and everything you've been doing. I'm anxious to find out more, even look into this myself, and who knows, maybe you're just going to have one more testimonial here in the future. I mean, I'll just be honest. I'm not going to sit here and be like, if it really isn't having some impact, like I'll let people know, but it doesn't necessarily mean like it's not going to benefit them, right? Because I've tried other things that really helped other people, and it didn't unfortunately have that breakthrough for me. But that's why it's practicing medicine. We're just trying to cover all the bases and seek that health. Is there anything else you want to go over here? I'm excited to get this out and see what the Lyme community has to say about it. And I just, for me, I just want to see people well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a midwife. I'm a healer at heart. That's just what, I get profoundly impacted by other people's suffering, and I just want to help.
Wow.
So, that's what I'm doing. But I did want to say something about this. So, what you were saying, like, even if it doesn't help you, that doesn't mean that it's not helpful. With my experience with this modality, I just keep getting blown away over and over. And I'm just like, damn, this stuff works. This stuff really works. Like, it works for everything. It just works for health, period. Not just Lyme. So the protocol is for Lyme, but the modality across the board is just profound and is so fast. So if people do this protocol and they don't get well right away, or they don't start having some kind of shift right away, to me, all it means is that we haven't hit the right pairs, and that it could be that they think they have Lyme, but there's a bigger problem going on that they haven't identified, or it's Lyme plus mold plus Epstein-Barr plus, SIBO plus, plus a lot of things, right? So it just means that there's more work that needs to be done. And so my hope, like I said, is that this is an entryway into a whole modality and a whole health system, that people can use on their own at home. And not to get discouraged if it doesn't give you immediate results, because it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It just means that maybe these particular pairs, aren't the ones for you at this time.
Right.
But I think, for people who do have Lyme and the co-infections, at least if they balance those Lyme and co-infection pairs, it's going to help. It's going to make a difference. So that's what I have to say about it.
I love it.
So
Sarah.
it's not the key, not the be all end all, but for me, the modality is.
Right. Yeah, I know that there's something to it.
Yeah. And there's trainings, and people can get trained. I don't do trainings. That's not my ambition, but there's people who do trainings online and in person.
Okay.
In Spanish and English. So I hope that at least some people will get really excited and become practitioners.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for your time and all that you're doing. I can see your heart's in the right place, and it's very hopeful and insightful to hear these type of breakthroughs. I could speak from personal experience, and I'm sure there's a lot that this will resonate with and breathe some light into their lives. And I really do believe some mega breakthroughs are right there on the horizon. And especially through unifying, bringing the awareness into things, we're going to lead to better solutions. And the medical industrial complex is getting exposed more and more, and it's just been eye-opening, and it's shocking, and it can put a weight on us all, but it's shining the light to all this opportunity, in our lives, and as to how we really can gear things more towards our health. So folks, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's fire this up. Let's share it far and wide. Let's get to the bottom of things. So hang on the line here, but folks, love you. Look forward to next time. God bless.